do you see a Shakur and Oscar Valdez fight coming up in a couple of weeks? Seeing that they're both 162.
I think that Devin, or excuse me, not Devin. I think that Shakur. I think that he's a little bit better than Valdez in everything, especially boxing. That's just what that's what Shakur does. He's a flat-out boxer. Can put the combinations together. Can control the range. Fight on the inside, the outside. Can't say enough about Shakur. I think he'll win the fight.
What about the power? I guess a lot of people keep alluding that.
Yeah, I mean, if anything, you look at Valdez's power and you say, okay, if he can land that, it's a big ass if, yo. That's a big ass. Come on, man. You seen the statistics they put up on ESPN? I don't even. It's a crazy, outrageous number, and I'm not gonna make it any more outrageous than it already is. So I'm not even gonna make up the number. But it's just crazy at punches landed opposed to punches thrown against Shakur Stevenson. And I watched him. I watched him in camp at the beginning of camp. It's just what he does. It's what he does.
Stevenson Valdez. How do you see that fight going?
It's gonna be a great fight, bro. I want to see the Valdez I seen versus Burchett. You know, I feel like his last fight he didn't really look too good, but I feel like he just had a lot of pressure on him too. And sometimes that pressure can eat you alive, bro. So, but Stevenson is a whole completely different type of animal too. I was very impressed when he fought Jamal Herring. Very good counter puncher. It's like he's in there, but he's not. You know what I mean? He's in there to hit you, but before it's your turn to hit him, he's not in there. So it's definitely going to be a great fight for both of them. Whoever wins that fight is definitely the man at that weight class, because those are two hard fights for any champion in that weight class.
You know, Valdez has a great left hook. That's the shot he knocked out Ochoa. Is he going to be able to land that and get that off?
I feel like sometimes.
And how the hell do you get in range against a guy like Shakur to even get it off?
I feel like sometimes Valdez, he just kind of like, he's like, what's it called when you're just throwing the hook too much?
When you're throwing
like you just rely on the hook too much.
Oh yeah.
He just relies on the hook too much. And sometimes, especially with fighters like that, bro, you're not gonna land no shots like that. So hopefully he learns, but hopefully, I don't know, bro. Honestly, I don't know. It's gonna be Shakur is a great fucking fighter, you know what I mean? So but Valdez is a great fighter too, but you know, he has to be ready to counter a lot with Shakur's slickness.
Oscar Valdez and Shakur Stevenson.
That's a great fight, you know. I won Valdez, my sport, you know, with Valdez. But Shakur Stevenson is a great fighter, you know. He has great skills. He fights, you know, perfectly. So if Valdez doesn't put the pressure, he's not on top of Shakur Stevenson. If it goes decision, I think Shakur Stevenson, you know, is gonna, you know, beat him on points, because he does box really good. He knows how to set the punches and everything. And he's gonna try to keep him from the outside and not let him come in. But Oscar Valdez has to go like a warrior, you know, like all Mexicans fight, go to fight, bring the war to him, and if he does that, I think he could beat him.
Are you leaning towards one more than the other? I know opening right now you said Valdez.
Yes.
So you're like leaning towards him because you think like he's overall like a better fighter, or you're leaning towards him because of like personal reasons, like you just are like, you know, you root for him? Or?
Yeah, you know, he's from Mexico, so we gotta root with, you know, we gotta go with our country. You know, he's from Mexico, so we gotta go with him. And you know, from fighting wise, I think they're both like 50-50. You know, the fight is 50-50. They're both really good. And you know, Oscar Valdez, he trains hard. Shakur Stevenson trains really hard too. So I think the fight is whoever that wants it the most, whoever trains the hardest is gonna see it.
Do you think Shakur wins his fight with Valdez next month?
Yeah, I know. I believe Shakur will win that fight. I believe Shakur got it all to win that fight.
Appreciate Shakur Stevenson and Oscar Valdez.
Shakur Stevenson. Without a doubt, Shakur. Too athletic. Jab is too good. I mean, we're not saying he won't get hit. We're saying that Valdez is not a real skilled fighter. He's a tough guy. I mean, I think that won't work with Shakur Stevenson anymore.
Who do you think wins that fight?
¿Quién gana esa pelea, Valdez o Stevenson?
Bueno, si Valdez gana, o como único Valdez gana, sí lo noquea. Shakur Stevenson creo que tiene la ventaja en el boxeo. Valdez muy parado. y Shakur Stevenson es más boxeador y no, si Valdez gana la pelea, pues un knockout. De lo contrario, pierde la pelea.
Valdez, the only way he can win is by knocking Stevenson out because Stevenson is just more versatile, more of a tactician than Valdez is. So if it goes the distance, Stevenson. If not, Valdez.
The upcoming fight between Oscar Valdez and Shakur Stevenson. Shakur Stevenson seems to be a fighter that could be from your cloth, your way of fighting.
Yeah,
what do you think of the matchup?
First of all, you're correct. The generation I come from, and I came from, is to me is a throwback of the generation that came before me, and so when I see a fighter in 2022, today's era, very few would get my attention to remind me of something of the past. That to me is a luxury and is a gift when you in this modern day and you see a fighter that reminds you of certain things he do, like, and his mentality and the way he basically execute. To me, it was an easy comment to make when the person that I'm mentioning, as you mentioned, Shakur, it speaks for itself, and I stand on that. I stand on that 100%.
Yeah. What do you think of his matchup against Oscar Valdez? Oscar Valdez is with Canelo's team. He's getting some advice. Some
Great
training
fight.
with Canelo and
great fight. And yes, team has a lot to do with it, but it's the individual and it's him. I mean, he brings a threat. Do I believe it's going to be enough to overtake and overcome and what's going to be in front of his face? No. But he'll put a good account of himself, and I think that's what it's really all about. Winning is everything, but sometimes you fall short, but it's how you fell short. It's how people are going to judge you. A win is a win is a win.
Your thoughts and prediction on Shakur and Valdez?
I think Shakur Valdez is a good fighter, man. I'm always with my Mexican people, but he's 30, I think now. Shakur's, I would say, he's hitting his peak, so it's gonna be a good fight, man. You can't never count Oscar out, a guy who comes to fight like that. But Shakur is very skillful.
Because Valdez does have power in that, especially in that left hook, right?
But it's just from a lefty perspective. I just don't see what Shakur gonna give him for him to catch, for Oscar to throw. Like, he's not gonna give him that right hook. You know what I'm saying? He's gonna be here. He's gonna have to come in and work the body, but Shakur gonna be here. So Oscar Valdez, if you do need sparring, I am a lefty. I would love that.
Hey,
it's a pretty big one. Unification with Shakur Stevenson very well, and Oscar Valdez. It's another fight that some fight fans didn't think was going to materialize, similar like yours and Cambosis. Any predictions or thoughts on how that fight?
Of course, I think Shakur is going to win. Valdez is a champion. He's been at the top for a while now. He's shown his grit, but I just think Shakur is too smart, and it'll show in the fight.
Stevenson Valdez, man. How do you see that going?
Valdez southpaw orthodox.
He's orthodox. Stevenson's a southpaw.
Valdez, the one that knocked out what's the name?
Bachel,
no?
Yeah, that's the guy who just kept coming forward. And Stevenson told him.
I mean, Valdez seems like he's a little bit stronger now than when he was at 26. So, and I mean, Stevenson is a good boxer, but no power. And I mean, if you have zero power against a dude that can crack, you're gonna run into problems regardless, So I really don't know how good Valdez is.
Isn't Stevenson though kind of like Floyd once at welterweight, where he's got enough to keep these guys respectful? Like, Stevenson's got a puncher, but only got enough.
No, don't get it confused. Don't get it confused. Floyd punches. Floyd can punch. Stevenson cannot punch at all. Stevenson, you put a piece of paper there, he can't rip it with a punch. Don't get that shit confused. I'm sorry to say, don't get that shit confused. You cannot compare the two. Floyd has real respectable power,
He stopped Harry.
What?
He stopped Harry his last fight, Shakur.
Yeah, but Herring also doesn't have much power to keep Shakur off, you know? Like I said, it comes down to, at the end of it, these pro fights, you know, and if Valdez not the one, but it's going to be somebody, you know, that can crack that's going to hurt him. The thing is, there's really not no 130 pounders really that can crack like that right now. I mean, like for instance, I think Tank belongs at 130, and he would kill everybody at 130, hands down. There's no questions asked. There's not even a fight close on that, you know? But
you think he beats Stevenson? Because a lot of people think Stevenson's more skilled than Tank, but not.
Yeah, because ESPN is hyping him up, and you know how they do. Oh, it is the Olympics, you know, and all this stuff. I mean, however, he's not a puncher. He has no power. So once he moves up to 35 or whatever, because he's gonna have to move up, he's gonna be in a really big problem. And he has 0 power, so it's like when you have no power, you're automatically fucking pro boxing. And it's sad, you know. You can only go so far.
Willie Pep did pretty good.
Yeah, Willie Pep was a. You know, that situation, that fighter is.
You're really, like, he would bring some bullshit up like that.
That's a very unique fight, you know, because a lot of this shit, like fucking just being purely defensive, cannot win fights really in this day and age, you know. And I think there was like a lot of stuff behind Willie Pep that made it so he was able to do that stuff. But he did lose a lot of fights as well. I mean, how many fights was the record? I know he was like
230 and 11.
Yeah, so he lost fights, you know. But I mean, that's an outstanding record, you know.
Yeah.
But that's also a different era.
Right.
You can't compare that era to this era, you know. You can't compare that era, you know. This era, you have to be more aggressive. And at that era, I mean, this era, you ain't selling, so they're gonna take your fight if you don't sell either way. And I know, sure in the fuck, he ain't filling up an arena, cause he put everybody to sleep when he fought the African dude, no? I forgot his name, you know.
Jeremiah Nakathia.
Yeah, that dude.
Jeremiah Nakathia.
That was probably one of the most horrible fights in the history of boxing.
He hurt him a couple of times with his left hand, though. It was, you know,
there was like 3 punches around.
2 out of 3 of them were usually hurting the other guy.
It was one of the most horrible fights in the history of boxing. So I wouldn't be surprised if they just give it to Valdez, you know. Even like if it was a competitive fight, you know. So I don't know. I don't really watch Valdez like that. I mean, it was a monster knockout against Alacran, you know. And I remember, and he's a warrior. I mean, he literally fought with his fucking jaw broken.
Against Quigg.
I remember because I went to that fight. It was at StubHub.
It was raining and shit.
Yeah, it was raining.
Yeah.
I fucking got out of there literally before the fight ended. I was like, fuck this rain, you know?
Quigg didn't even make weight for that fight either. He was like 130. And
see? And he fought, like I say, he fought with a broken jaw.
Right.
You know, so it's gonna take a lot to keep Valdez off of Shakur, you know? So, you know, I would say Valdez.
Little bro, Shakur Stevenson looks like he's gonna. I think you already know what I'm gonna ask about the Oscar Valdez fight seeming to be happening. Just wanted to get your thoughts overall. It's a great fight for both.
It is a great fight for both. I'm happy that Shakur is getting that fight. He deserves it. He's a hard worker. I got Shakur winning. I got Shakur being tested slightly, but I think Shakur is gonna break Oscar Valdez down, and by the 7th round, it'll be a knockout. Or like the ref is gonna have to jump in to save Oscar Valdez because skills pay the bills. And I think Oscar Valdez is very, very strong. But Shakur is strong, he's skilled, he's smart, and just like me, we both hate losing. And I think that Shakur gonna go in there and show everybody, like y'all was saying that I wasn't nothing, and you guys are praising Oscar Valdez, and Shakur is gonna take all of that from him. I think Shakur is gonna beat Oscar Valdez pretty bad.
I know you trained Oscar a few years back. I know it's pretty much irrelevant to ask you, but being that you trained him in the past, he's fighting Shakur Stevenson. You know both those fighters well from having trained Shakur as a professional and Valdez as a professional, and then Shakur, from the amateur ranks or whatnot. He's even visited your gym when he was about to debut. Just give us your thoughts on the matchup if you have any.
It's going to be a great fight. Another youth versus experience, with Oscar Valdez being there, done that. He's been there, done that. He's fought some tough fights. Champion at 126, now at 130 pounds. Don't take anything away from Shakur. Shakur's an Olympic silver medalist. Oscar being a two-time Olympian himself. Excuse me. It's an evenly matched fight. Two great champions. It's going to be a barn burner. I think styles make fights. Shakur being a boxing purist, a technician, a southpaw, tactical fighter, great using his distance, his range, great counter puncher. And then an Oscar. Come on, what can I say about Oscar? He's proven himself time and time again, proven himself to be a great champion, to be a great role model in boxing, and I just think it's going to be a great fight. I think it's an evenly matched fight, and may the best fighter win.
Oscar Valdez versus Shakur Stevenson at the end of April. What are your thoughts on that fight?
A great fight. It's a young guys trying to test each other, and they all say Shakur Stevenson is a great boxer, and he's one of the top dogs, and he's the next Mayweather and all of this, and that Oscar Valdez tries to ruin that. So at the end of the day, we're going to have two amazing fighters fighting each other. Hope the fight ain't boring, because that tends to happen when you got such great talents going against each other. And we should see more from Shakur Stevenson. He destroyed Jamel Herring. I see Jamel Herring over there in Castano's camp and shit.
Oscar Valdez do with movers as far as your experience with him?
I don't know. I haven't really seen him fight a mover. He fought, when I was with him, who did he fight? Perchout. Obviously Perchout's not a mover. I think I've seen him fight Bruno Lopez, which he's kind of a mover, but not really.
Would you even consider Shakur a mover?
I mean, he definitely not a stayer.
Do you think Valdez will hurt him at some point in the fight, win or lose?
Maybe. That's a possibility. Because Valdez has tricky shots. It's the kind of punches that, like Eddie's camp trains on. Tricky shots, like shots that, it's setup shots. So he always has to be on his P's and Q's, which Shakur is good at.
Did you ever spar him back in the camp?
No, he's just been too small.
Shakur and Valdez, and I know working with K. Karoma, I imagine you've been around him.
Shakur's my brother. Like the first time I ever saw Shakur, he was 14 years old. I remember like it was yesterday. He was at the Olympic Training Center. I was on the men's USA team. He was on the junior USA team, and I seen him spar. And I said, oh, he's special. Like, I knew it right away, first round, when he sparred, he was 14 years old, so.
What was it? Like, he was just sharp, like steak knife sharp already?
He just did stuff that kids don't do. Like, he was just like, he was like a grown, you know how amateurs, like, they just fight sometimes?
Right.
Like, he was only 14, but he was fighting like a grown man. Like, he did stuff that kids don't do.
He was ahead of his time.
Yeah.
Certain moves.
Yeah, he's still ahead of his time right now, even though he's 24 now, he's still ahead of his time.
Do you think, like, because like he has a reputation of being a boxer, do you think maybe in this fight he shows a bit more of that grown man strength and tries to get Valdez out of there?
I think he did that his last fight.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, but see with Shakur's smart. So Shakur not gonna let nothing like get him off of what he needs to do to win. But I think he can do that if he really wanted to. But I think he just box and make it easy. But if he sees that opportunity, he'll seize it. Like, because Shakur, he could do a lot more than what people seen in the fights. Like, Shakur got dog in him. Like, I seen some people like questioning that, and I know, because I know I'm around, so I know. But
you see the right fighter to bring it out of him.
Yeah, he just needs somebody to bring it out of him. Like, but if they can't box with him, why do that? There's no point.
Just take your time, piece him up, and
just make it
the
easy.
fight easy. But you know, is there a chance in this fight? You know, just thinking about it, that Shakur, he wins. You know, he wins rather like one-sided, but he has to get through some scary moments in there. When if Valdez is able to get in his power at times, or no, he might make it look whitewashed.
Me personally, I don't think it's gonna be like that.
Right.
Because you know, with boxing, anything is possible. Like, I don't think it's gonna be like that. I don't think you're gonna be able to touch him. Really, it's hard to touch him like anywhere.
I don't think anyone's really touched him.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard.
Yeah,
I spar with him. I know it's hard to touch him anywhere. Like it's hard to touch his shoulder. If he don't want to touch you, won't.
Why is it so hard to touch him when it's like he's not wasting a lot of energy?
I've learned that. I've learned that from him. Like being around him, I learned. Like this is my little brother, but I learned from him. Like he knows his distance. Like he knows his distance. Like really well. Like he knows like if you're gonna throw something, he can make you like miss by this much.
Who do you see him winning that Valdez fight?
Yeah, for sure. Shakur definitely is a talented fighter. I don't take nothing from nobody. I'm not no hater. He's a very talented fighter. But when it comes down to it, when we got to fight, come on now. We know what time it is.
Is it going to be competitive, him and Valdez?
No. Shakur gonna wipe him. Wipe him with the flow.
But does he have the power? If he could get in the right range and get that left hook off, could he hurt Shakur if he could actually land it?
I don't know what he could do with Shakur.
Right.
I don't know. I'm not Shakur Chin. I can't really tell you. But I think Shakur going to dominate.
Can you just give us your assessment of Oscar Valdez's fight against Shakur Stevenson next week?
No, it's going to be a really good fight for both. It's going to be a difficult fight for both fighters. But Oscar have a lot of experience, have a really good training camp. So it's going to be a really good fight.
Are you surprised that people might be underestimating Oscar a little bit based on what he did?
I'm surprised about that. I'm surprised about that because Oscar can do many things in the ring. He always try to, I'm gonna put a show for the people, and go forward and try to in and out and take punch and do and throw punch. So I say, Oscar, this fight is gonna be different. You need to keep focus and win the fight, not to put in a show for the people, because he's a really good skill fighter, move around. So if you go forward, he's gonna do his fight. You're gonna put in his own fight. So you need to be very careful and try to do your fight to win the fight.
I have more of an opinion on Oscar Valdez versus Shakur Stevenson. Definitely rooting for Shakur Stevenson there, and it has nothing to do with the fact that he's my teammate and friend. Like, Shakur Stevenson is a special boxer. He may not, people who know boxing know that, but maybe the world hasn't really seen it yet. He doesn't have a chance to really prove it yet, but he is amazing. He's an amazing talent. Like, he's very, very, very highly skilled. His boxing IQ is incomparable, like the best out there. So, and I know this, I've sparred with him, I've seen him work. Like, he's really, really, really is a prodigy. And I just don't see someone with I don't see anyone beating him, but I don't see Valdez. I mean, Valdez's style is he's very one-dimensional. You know, he comes forward and he bangs and he's strong and he's gritty, but I just don't think that he has the skills to beat Shakur.
What do you think of his fight with Oscar Valdez, and what he had to say about you?
First of all, I just feel very honored, from getting a compliment like that from an Olympian and silver medalist. He's a great fighter. I feel like he's going to be unified champion in multiple divisions one day. So I feel very motivated by just hearing him say that. And I feel the same way about him. He's a great fighter. He's probably one of the best 130-pounders, in the world today. And I feel like he's going to go in there and he's going to beat Valdez with no problem. I think it's going to be very difficult for Valdez to even catch him, or to catch Stevenson's counters. And Stevenson, he's a bad motherfucker as well. So I'm very happy to hear that from him.
You can put a lot of pressure on a fighter without throwing a punch and get your opponent tired. But if you can do that and throw the right combinations and make Shakur Stevenson go back, it can be a very interesting fight.
It's interesting because Shakur told me the biggest challenge to him in his eyes is the heart of Oscar, because Oscar's not going to quit. He says like, hey, that's a dangerous thing.
Yeah, no, it is. I mean, the heart is always dangerous. If you have skills like Oscar Valdez, you know, skills, power, heart, it's a pretty dangerous combination. So yeah, both guys have their hands full. They both have great trainers in their corners, and yeah, I think it's a great fight.
We got Shakur Stevenson and Oscar Valdez. I fuck with Shakur, man. That motherfucker, when you talk about sweet science, that motherfucker, he may not be the prettiest, he may not be the flashiest, but that motherfucker, man, is top notch, untouchable, skillful and untouchable. I fuck with that kid. Don't bet against him either, especially against Valdez.